Real talk with your main Chip Washington. When it comes to information, the main got an arsenal. Bring you up to speed with what you need. He's a local and nationwide news feed. Let's talk about it. Dialect to do something about it. Chip got the flow wide open if you got questions about it. Man, it's the show that brings you to your raw. To solve all problems, it starts with real talk. Real talk. It's 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 real talk. Yeah. Welcome to Real Talk with your host, Chip Washington. It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk.
And here we go on this Monday. It is the 18th day of April 2022, and Real Talk Memphis is on the air. Very happy to have you with us if you are with us on this beautiful night. Earlier today, it was cloudy, it was cool, it was windy, and things are blowing, but things have turned out to be nice here at the end. I am your humble host, Chip Washington. Very happy to have you with us along for the ride here. And as per usual, we try to present a good product. I think we have a pretty good show for you tonight. And looking forward to talking to our guest about a number of important subjects and topics. I can't get my Facebook Live to work. I don't know what's going on with it. But in any way, I was going to tell you, as we always do, there are many, many, many ways to catch this fine piece of radio broadcasting. The first is we are live right now on 91.7 WYXR on your FM dial. You can also catch us on the TuneIn app. We are also on the WYXR.org website, or what do they call it? Anyway, app. That's it, the app. And let's see, we are on Facebook Live. If I could get it up on my phone here. I don't know why I can't get Facebook Live on my phone. Y'all need to help me with that. But let's see, and then we're on YouTube. We'll be posting that a bit later on. And as we are a podcast, after they post the show tomorrow, you can go out and find us and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. How about that? Right. It's been an interesting day. A lot going on out there. And in case you may have forgotten, it's tax day. This is the day that you are supposed to file your income tax. Lola and I both discovered that we have asked for extensions. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to be doing that because, well, you know, I mean, it's just been a weird year, right? So we need a little extra time, especially those of us who owe money. You owe money, man. I tell you, it's not a good deal. So that's one thing that you needed to pay attention to. And a little bit earlier this afternoon or earlier today, a federal judge shot down the public transportation mask mandate. So on any plane, train, or automobile, they had extended it through May 3rd, they meaning the federal government, the White House. But the federal judge said, nope, can't do that. Didn't give folks enough time, getting an adequate reason, and it wasn't necessary. So starting tonight or tomorrow, when you get on a bus, a train, or an airplane, you don't have to wear a mask. So there's no mask mandate for public transportation. So I don't know how we feel about that, but it is what it is on that particular score. So before I get too far ahead of myself, it is usually this time of the program where we salute you. This is the day that you were born, or a special occasion, your birthday. You know, we like to shout you out here on the big program. But we can't do that until I say, hit it, Lola.
Happy birthday!
I need to figure out this Facebook Live deal, man, because it's going to be on. And before people start asking me, where you at, man? Why you ain't on? We're looking for you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday goes out to DeVille Boyce Holtz. Dennis Schulark. Linda Diane is celebrating a birthday, as is Michael A. Manning. Tamara Neal is celebrating today. Happy birthday to Ursula Houston and Veronica Williams, and a member of our family, the WYXR radio family, celebrated her birthday yesterday. So a big happy belated birthday goes out to Nancy Morrow. Now, Nancy has a show on Mondays too, by the way. It talks about plants, horticulture, and things like that. You know, you have a nice little deal going on there, and it's very educational and gives you a lot of good information. So happy birthday to you and everyone celebrating a birthday. We hope to be here next year about this same time, about this same chair, and about this same station to celebrate another trip around the sun. Thank you, Lola. All right. Some news and notes, and boy, there's a lot going on. I guess we should start with what the woman was thinking yesterday. What? What was you gonna say something? Rest in peace, DJ Hayslay. Hayslay. Hey? K-Slay. Okay, I got it. Okay, rest in peace. Okay, Lola told me to put that one in there, so rest in peace. There was a woman who was driving a vehicle coming into Memphis on 55 yesterday afternoon. And by the way, I hope each and every one of you had a wonderful Easter yesterday. It was a nice chance to get with some of your family and friends and enjoy some fellowship. Well, she was driving across the bridge, and she had been involved in an accident. Well, when the law enforcement authorities came to tow her off the bridge, they said that her car would have to be impounded. You know, that's how they do, right? You have to impound the car and go, because she ran out of gas. And in the process of it, I guess she got hit by a car or something happened in reference to that. So when they told her that she had to claim her car today, she said, well, you can't go in my car. You can't enter my car. Well, it was about that time they got close enough to get a contact high off of the 229 pounds of weed she had in her car yesterday. You heard me. 229 pounds of marijuana was discovered, as well as over $17,000 in cash. Now, I'll just leave it to you to determine what you think, she was going to do with all of that and what that's all about. But right now, she's comfortably ensconced at Jail East here in Memphis, Tennessee. In other news, and this is some tough news, we had 3 mass shootings this weekend. 3. 2 of them were in South Carolina. One in particular, there were 10 people hurt, 2 young people that were killed at a Pittsburgh house party. More than 200 underage youth were at this party. And of course, some type of dispute broke out. Folks started pulling guns and shooting at everybody. 2 17-year-old males were killed in that particular. Folks were jumping out windows. They were doing anything they could to try to escape the onslaught of bullets. That's still under investigation. Meantime, as I said, this was one of 3 that happened. Mass shootings over the weekend. 9 people were injured at a club in Hampton County, South Carolina, and 14 people were hurt when gunfire erupted at a South Carolina mall in Columbia, South Carolina. This on top of what happened last week. I think it was Thursday, where the guy in New York City in Brooklyn decided to get on the subway. 63 years old, this guy, opened up some smoke canisters and then pulled out a gun and started shooting at people. Fortunately, very fortunately, no one was injured in that. He turned himself in the next day. Actually, he was walking up and down the street and decided to, when he got to a phone, he decided to call the police and say, I think y'all are looking for me. And he decided that, they're looking for him. And so come pick me up at so-and-so and so-and-so. So they picked him up in front of a convenience store. So anyway, he's in jail, no bond. He has not pled to that case. The aftermath of the shooting that we had here, we had the shooting at Beale Street about a week or so ago. A triple shooting where a young man was killed. So now the family of the young man, he's 26 years old, by the way, the individual in question. So the Memphis Downtown Commission decided that they were going to put back or reenact the $5 entrance fee to Beale Street, which is a public street. But they decided to revive the $5 admittance fee, and that goes from 9 p.m. to 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. 9 o'clock, from 9 o'clock on to 3 o'clock in the morning, you will have to pay admission to get into Beale Street. Now, what happens if I decide I want to get there before 9 o'clock? I don't have to pay until 9 o'clock, right? We'll just hang out, hang around or whatever. They are going to wand you. That is their way of, I guess, showing some security in terms of that, right? They're going to wand you, and they're going to make you pay at the same time. Meanwhile, the family of the young man who was killed when, I guess, two groups of folks started shooting wants answers from the district attorney. They want to know exactly what happened. Who shot him? Who killed the kid? Who killed this young man? His name was, let me see here, 26-year-old Taquan Smith. Hold on just a second. Let me see if I can't find the guy's name here. In any event, he was shot and killed, but the family wants to know who did it. Who did it? You know, did the police shoot him? Did he get shot by somebody else? I think they had one person arrested, but no charges have been filed. The family has retained an attorney, so they want answers. So stay tuned, and we will see how all that shakes out. Meantime, the Memphis Grizzlies played on Saturday. They did lose the game, but apparently sometime after the game, early evening, a member of the Timberwolves traveling party was robbed late Saturday afternoon, early evening. And that happened a day earlier. A person was robbed at knife point rather, on Beale Street on Saturday night. So, you know, it's still getting crazy out here. There's still stuff going on. It's still messy. Crime is infecting areas that we never thought, at one point in time would happen. But it's like a virus. It's like this COVID thing. It's like it's everywhere. And as I say all the time, there is no determination as to who shoots who. I mean, whether it's a child, whether it's a woman, whether it's a grown person, whether it's an adult, whoever, however. The violence has escalated to an all-time high, and it has really become rather a troubling incident. Let's shift gears and go back to Mason, Tennessee. You remember a couple of weeks ago we talked about Mason, Tennessee, little town just up to the north of here, who was dealing with some financial issues. The town was in major debt. I mean, $200,000-$300,000 in debt, and the comptroller of the state of Tennessee wanted to take over their finances because they weren't doing enough to make that happen. Well, the town went to court to try to sue to keep the state from handling their business. They lost. So the comptroller is now officially in charge of helping to get their finances in track. The current administration in Mason, Tennessee, which is black, says that this was going on way before we got here. This was happening way before, this debt problem that we were dealing with happened way before us. Well, it's on you now, and hopefully they're going to work out a plan to be able to pay the debt. Now, that is just down the road from where the big Ford plant is going to be built. So, you want to be able to get all the benefits out of that you can. Let's see here. Early voting is underway. And now, this is the time of year where folks like to complain about stuff. About black folks endorsing white folks and other folks and politicians endorsing this for that and stuff like that. Just vote. If you don't like the status quo, if you don't like the way things are, if you don't like the way things are being handled right now in particular, vote. Because a lot of folks just, sit back on the sidelines and they want to make comments on social media like this, like Facebook, and start going back and forth with each other. I guess I should ask the question, did you vote? If you haven't voted yet or don't plan on voting at all, keep your mouth shut. Stop talking. So, you talk at the polls. You don't talk on these sites because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. as I said earlier, the Memphis Grizzlies dropped game 1 of their series with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I'll tell you right now, a lot of the pundits were very shocked that Minnesota won that game because they thought the Grizzlies were a lot better and that they should have won. Well, wake-up call time. Tomorrow night, the game is at 7:30 at FedEx Forum. Go out there and root for the Grizzlies. I think you're going to see some better performances. Jared Jackson in particular, he said today that he was going to do a lot better than he did on a Saturday afternoon. Josh scored 30 points. He always scores 30 points. But they got outplayed as a team. You can't play 1-on-5. You got to play 5-on-5. And before I go to break, let's keep Ukraine in our thoughts. They're still going through hell over there. They really are. This war is real with Russia. So let us keep them in our thoughts and our prayers. We're going to take our first break. And by the way, I didn't run down the guest list, but there's a lot of folks. There's a few folks on the show. I'm saying there's a lot of folks watching us right now. I'll fix the Facebook Live in the commercial break. But Dr. Steve Threlkeld is going to join me, a frequent guest of the show, especially during the heat of COVID. He's going to talk about the latest Omicron news. We are also going to talk to Archie Willis III. He is the founder and president of Comcap Partners, and he's going to talk about a very exciting project in the South Memphis area. Can't wait to talk to him about that. And we're also going to talk about women's health with Cherie. She is the director of radiology for Methodist South. And we're going to be talking about mammograms. A lot to get to tonight. Glad to have you with us. I'm Chip. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk.
The Orpheum's 2022-2023 Broadway season brings you powerful stories and powerhouse performances. Season packages include all 6 spectacular shows, the opportunity to add 2 incredible season options, and exclusive VIP perks. Learn more at orpheum-memphis.com.
Memphis Listening Lab proudly supports WYXR. They provide a curated collection of music and music history, a forum for music-related talks and performances, and a music education, appreciation, and experimentation space located in Crosstown Concourse. The lab is open Tuesday through Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can find out more information on their Instagram page at Memphis Listening Lab or on their website at memphislisteninglab.org.
Support for WYXR, including our 2022 stereo sessions, comes from Archer Malmo, a Memphis-based marketing, digital, PR, and branding agency. Archer Malmo believes the greatest asset of any creative entity is its people and proudly supports WYXR for lifting up Memphis voices for the world to hear. More at archermalmo.com.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening. Very happy to have you with us, as are some of the folks on Facebook Live. I'm still having some issues with this, but I see you folks out there. Janice Chestnut, hello. Johnson Salisbury, hello to you. My brother Michael is watching from Los Angeles, California. Fatima Rice, Denise Moore. Let's see here. I think I said Janet, right? Janet Chestnut and who? Judith Palmer. Yeah, we got a lot of folks out there. Ricky Floyd checking us out. Carlos Hale as well. Thank y'all. Appreciate that. I appreciate my first guest because during the heat of COVID, he was available, and you saw him everywhere. I mean, you saw him every day, but he gave us some really valuable information. And I wanted to invite him back because we are starting to see a bit of an increase in a new variant of the Omicron variant called BA2. Pleasure to welcome back to Real Talk Memphis, Dr. Steve Threlkeld. And Dr. Steve, thanks for being here, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Chip. Good to talk to you in a position of relative strength compared to our previous visits.
You're not kidding, man. I tell you what, it really, when I see where we are now versus where we were then, it really is a miracle. And having a lot of conversations with you during the heat of all of that, you lost patients and friends, and a lot of us, did. It was a pretty tough time. Things have quieted down, but it seems as if this new variant, BA2, is starting to heat back up a little bit in a few parts of the country. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It never stops being complicated about what we should do individually. It's always because you want to do the safest thing possible. The BA2 is yet more contagious than all the ones before. And it is sort of a variant, as you say, of the BA1 Omicron. It's very contagious, but doesn't appear to be having an increased linked hospitalization risk. So those places in Europe, then the East Coast, and then now here, we're seeing the cases ramp up. No question. I'm getting a lot more phone calls. There's some events that people have had where several people got it, those sort of mini super spreader events. But all across the world, it's not really been tied to an increase in hospitalizations at this point. And that's the one thing we've got going for us that we hope will make this a better situation. And interestingly, we had more BA1 here because of not as many people being vaccinated. So there may be a little more immunity to this in our community than there is in some other places. So we hope, just have the timing right on that and get fewer cases in a shorter peak than we might have otherwise.
I was going to ask you, do you think, because, you hear it, again, it's starting to creep up. I think I read or heard 21 states, have cases right now. We are not one of those states that do have cases. So, it's hard to read this, isn't it? I mean, the mandates have gone. People are basically back to their normal way of life. I said earlier in the show that the federal judge shot down the mask mandate for public transportation. So what's your take on where we're going here?
Well, it's tough. I think we have long since moved into we need to protect those people who are most vulnerable, those immunosuppressed people. And it comes down to, should I wear a mask and should I get a vaccine booster? Those are the two big questions that people ask.
Yeah.
I think they both come down to how vulnerable you are, your age, your underlying medical problems. And are you a healthcare worker? Are you around such people? Do you have loved ones live with such people? Those people need to be a little more careful. And not to mention the big wild card in all this, and that is that the vaccines are great at protecting from hospitalization and death, but their protection against mild infection only lasts for a little while. That said, do we really want to get this infection at all? Every time we peel back a layer of the onion, we find that it may increase your chance of diabetes, all manner of vascular, clot, heart diseases. Probably best to just avoid the thing altogether. So doing sensible stuff has not yet gone out of style, in my opinion.
So we still have, I'm sorry, I'm hearing echoes here, and I think it's my phone. There we go. I think we're good now. So we're talking to Dr. Steve Threlkeld. He is an infectious disease specialist, the Baptist Medical Group, talking about this new variant, and of course the second booster that they're talking about, because I guess is 4 to 6 months after you got your last shot. And like you say, I guess it all depends on what category you're in, but it's 50 and older. Am I correct?
It's approved for 50 and older. Dr. Jha, who used to be at Brown University, is now on President Biden's team.
Right.
I think did a pretty good job over the weekend. He's a pretty clear guy, explains things well. And he pointed out that if it's approved for over 50, but the new Israeli data point out that if you're over 60, that's where you really see the best benefit. It actually protects against death and more severe disease in those folks, particularly if they haven't been boosted already. And a lot of people were not boosted especially well after they got the first two shots. So yes, that 50 to 59 group is a little more of a gray area. Certainly if you're immunosuppressed and the like, you should do it.
Yeah, I think you and I have talked in the past, and a lot of folks talk. We're just over it now. But it's really weird because this has been a 2-year journey, and there's been so much pain and so much loss associated with it. And I got to be honest with you, even today, I still get a little nervous in going into facilities like gyms, like, you know, I go to work out, or even church where they started to pull back some of the restrictions. And I sent a note to my pastor. I said, you know what, I felt a little funny having folks sit as close to me as they were. And it's just that, you know, I don't know, where is the line? You know what I mean? I mean, it's a very difficult line to balance. Am I correct in that?
There's no question. It depends on who you are, who you live with, what your situation is, where you work. There are a lot of variants. And that's why those middle groups, that 50 to 59 group, it's probably best to check with your doctor or healthcare provider to see where you fit in getting. I took a plane last week, and it didn't hurt my feelings to have a mask on crowded with people around you because, as I say, it's probably not a good virus to get. And if we find that there's a huge increase in diabetes and vascular disease 5 years from now, this could have an impact that we don't really fully grasp yet, honestly.
That's very, very interesting. So the metrics, most of the metrics as to, I guess, how serious or difficult these variants are, as you mentioned earlier, are hospitalizations and deaths. And we've not seen a lot of that. Now this is what you do on a daily basis. You told me off air that you were starting to get some calls about this BA2, but it really hasn't taken a hold here. I mean, the 7-day average is still under 30 cases a day. So, I mean, we're still pretty low. Yeah, and there's something to think about that. It's a little bit of a caveat because most cases aren't even being reported now. Most are home tests, and those people don't bother to call the health department until they're positive. We also have a very, very high rate of hospital beds per capita in this area. So we will be artificially green on some of those parameters because that's a big factor, and we look better than most other cities in the country just because of how many beds we have. We're not going to have as high a percentage as some other cities are. So there's some caveats in those data, but that's not to say that we're not a lot better off today than we have been at any time in the recent past in this pandemic. As a forward-thinking man, I know you look down the road to see, you know, not necessarily what's here, but what's next. So, you know, as you start to forecast down a few months, we're in the spring now, and of course, allergies are a big deal for everybody. It's a bad allergy season. I have terrible sinus problems. But as we get down into the latter parts of the year, anything in particular you're looking at that you may bear watching as time moves along? Yeah, I mean, I think that with the caveat that we've been awful at predicting things from top to bottom on this thing, I think the caveat is that as people hear, you know, it depends on they get more insight again in the fall, that's going to be the time when new variants, it's really what the virus throws at us. We've been lucky sort of with BA2 right now. There's no reason, plus or minus, that it might not throw a worse variant at us in the fall. We just need to be able to go back to measures that protect ourselves if we need them. We hope we don't, but we'd be foolish not to be prepared for this or something else that comes down the pike later on. We've seen now what it can do to us. I saw a story about an inhaler. I think something that you blow into that particularly detects you know, a COVID variant. Are you up on that a little bit? Well, there are all kind of tests out there that are being developed. Some, you know, some saliva, there's breath tests that they're working on. So we hope that the troubles we've been through now will lead to a lot of technologies. We're seeing, you know, there's a brand new drug that's just that's being studied right now that actually has a lot of links to Memphis, sabizabulin it's called, and it's another oral medication that works against the virus and against that inflammation that attacks our lungs. The study was so effective that they had to stop it early because it was unethical to continue the trial. So they'll be applying for that drug. So we have things coming down the pike that we hope will help us in the event that this comes back at us with more problems later on. Wow. Well, listen, man, thank you as always for coming on the show and kind of laying it out for us. You know, I know that the COVID conversation is not something that's real popular with a lot of folks out here these days, but it's information that we need and it's information that we can use. And I'm very happy to have you and as a guest. And if something breaks out between now and God knows when, you know, let's reconvene and do it all over again. What do you think? Always good to see you, Chip. Thanks. Take care. Have a good night, my friend. Take care. You too. Dr. Steve Threlkeld, ladies and gentlemen, kind of giving us the latest and greatest on this BA2, which is another version of Omicron. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to devote this next segment to ladies' health. And we're going to talk about mammograms, you know, and I think I heard or read somewhere that, you know, we all know that they're very important screening processes in terms of breast cancer, but also it's a little troubling that the numbers of folks getting those type of examinations is down. So we're going to talk to an expert about that. This is Real Talk Memphis. I'm Chip. We'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
This is Will Goodwin, co-founder at Crosstown Brewing Company. Just like WYXR, Crosstown Brewing supports Memphis music and our neighbors who use their talents to make it. Our beers can be found at our 3,000 square foot tap room right here at the Crosstown Concourse and at your favorite bars, restaurants, and stores throughout Tennessee, Mississippi, and eastern Arkansas. Enjoy.
The River Series is back with 3 shows this spring, benefiting the Maria Montessori School. It starts April 30th with Greg Cartwright's Welk Stall and Aquarium Blood. March 14th, it's Jeremy and the Drip Edges with Tim Prudhomme's Fake. And we'll wrap up the series on June 4th with Mouse Rocket and Ibex Clone. More information and tickets at riverseries.org.
Brought to you by Crosstown Concourse, offering brand new musical experiences like concerts, live score film screenings, record release parties, weekly music pop-ups, and so much more. For more information, visit crosstownconcourse.com/visit.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis, where it is the place to talk. Very happy to have you with us along for the ride on this Monday. Judith C. Farmer, I hadn't seen you in quite some time. Good to see you. Janet and Judith and Michael Harris is checking us out. What's going on, Michael Harris? Good to see you. Sarah Gum is watching as well. Now, there were a lot of folks that were checking me out earlier when I was doing this live thing, but I wasn't on the Facebook Live feed as I am now. So I'm hoping that you're out there. If you are, say hi, say something, say anything. In the meantime, we're going to say a few things as we move forward in the broadcast. And as I said in the tease, women's health is very important, and one of the most important examinations you can do for yourself and your health is mammograms. And we're going to talk a little bit about that right now with Cherie Hurd. She is the radiology director at Methodist South. And Ms. Cherie, welcome to Real Talk Memphis. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Chip. Hi.
Hi.
So, my name is Cherie Hurd. I have been with the Methodist organization. It will be 22 years in December of this year.
Well, look at you. Okay.
I encompass a lot of areas here in radiology, to include mammogram, X-ray, CT, MRI, nuke med. It's a lot of things that I cover, but specifically today we're going to talk about mammography. Okay, very good. So,
obviously that is key in detecting breast cancer. And do you have numbers? And I know that it's in the thousands of women, who may be diagnosed with breast cancer each and every year. It's obviously a very big problem. But I'm also to understand that the numbers of women getting these examinations has dropped. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so of course with the pandemic, we saw a lot of the visits here or with our women getting their screenings drop tremendously because of the pandemic. However, I will proudly say that we're starting to see those numbers trend back up because we're starting to become more open out in society. with the pandemic. But I would like to share some numbers with you.
Sure.
Just to kind of put it in the surface of what we're doing. The first thing I'd like to say is that April is the National Minority and Disparities Health Month, right?
Okay.
And so earlier this year, I was doing a little research with the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. They have a blog, and on their monthly blog, they stated that more than 290,000 new cases of invasive breast cancer will be diagnosed in women in the United States this year.
290,000 new cases of breast cancer?
Yeah, new cases of invasive breast cancer. That's really strong. Yes, 290,000 in the United States of our women.
Wow.
And I will just say the great thing about that, I know that's a huge number, but let's just keep this in mind. We have some ways to go, but we are making strides. There have been a overall 42% decline in breast cancer deaths over the last 30 years because we are really pumping the education of screening mammographies. Screening mammographies is early detection, early treatment equals saving lives. That's what we say each and every time with screening mammographies. But there's still a gap. There's a mortality gap in our women, especially in our African American community. And so we really like to push the fact of letting our ladies know that it's important to get those screenings.
So let's jump back to what you just said. There is a gap, you said, especially in the minority communities. Why is that? What do you see to be the reason for that?
Well, there's a lot of miseducation out there, Chip. A lot of women feel that they're too young to start examining themselves. And particularly, I won't say screenings because the average age of a screening is 40. And that's what you call a minimum risk patient. Minimum risk patients are patients that do not have strong family history of breast cancer. There's no BRCA genetics that's involved. So there's a list of things that their primary care physician can discuss with them to determine if they're an average risk patient to get their screenings. However, we highly encourage our ladies to start getting their clinical examinations at the age of 25. And what that means is when you go in to get your annual checkups, your primary care physician performs a clinical examination on your breast.
Okay.
And a lot of ladies don't know that. So we're finding that education is one of the biggest problems.
Education is key. So before we move on, and by the way, if you're just joining us, we're speaking with Cherie Hurd. She is the radiology director at Methodist South. And we're talking about mammograms and women's health. But before we move on, Cherie, one of my Facebook Live followers, Janet Chestnut, said that I am so glad that you were on, Ms. Hurd. She said she is a 12-year breast cancer survivor, and she is also a volunteer with the American Cancer Society. So again, promoting and encouraging women and men to get mammograms is extraordinarily important. So when you hear something like that, that's got to make you feel pretty good, I would imagine, in terms of this research and this testing works.
Yes, and I'm happy Miss Janet mentioned men because 1 out of 1,000 on average men they're diagnosed with breast cancer. And the average age of that is between 50 and 60 years old.
Wow.
The American Cancer Society, which she works with, said that this year alone, over 2,700 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer. And out of that 2,700 men, 530 of those men are expected to pass away from breast cancer.
That's a stunning statistic that you just talked about, and that's something that as a man we don't hear about that. We hear very little, if really nothing at all, about that. Even in terms of like an annual physical, I take them, I do an annual physical every year, but that subject is not even brought up. But let me ask you in reference to that. Are there symptoms that go along with it? Let's talk about the men for a quick second. Are there symptoms that can be detected? I mean, that you, as a man, that you feel like something might not be right, that get you in there to take a look?
Yeah. If you feel any lumps, if there's any discharges, any swelling, any redness, just anything that's abnormal that you may feel. And we highly suggest that women and men do monthly self-examinations at home There's a recommendation to do those while you're in the shower because the warm water and the soap relaxes the skin, and it kind of gives you an option to really feel what's going on. You can do them standing up in the shower, you can do them standing in the mirror, or you can do them lying down. There's several visual resources out there that you can follow. You can go to YouTube, the American Breast Cancer Society, the Breast Cancer Research and Foundation page has that. You can Google it for that instance of how to do the steps, but we highly recommend that those self-examinations are started on a monthly basis, and we want our men and women to do that. I know we generally talk about breast cancer in our ladies, in the female population, because that's where it's prevalent. However, we do know that men are diagnosed with breast cancer as well.
Well, before we go, we always hear about this as we get into the fall of the year. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and things like that, and we hear about the numbers, and a lot of it is hereditary. A lot of folks who may have had a family member, mother or someone, sister or someone, have that, be diagnosed with that. They go on and get tested and find they may have the trait. And sometimes that leads to very big decisions about, look, we don't want to go down this complete and whole, terrible road. And we're talking about, folks taking treatment and sort of cutting it off before it moves forward.
We call that the Angelina Jolie phenomenon. Angelina Jolie, she did that exact thing. She had double mastectomy. Her mom passed away from cancer. However, it wasn't breast cancer, but she did have the genetic code or that gene that showed. And she decided that she did not want to go through the treatments. She was afraid. And not to say that she would have acquired, she would have gotten breast cancer, but she just stopped it at the beginning. When she found out she had the gene, genetic from her mother, she decided to have a double mastectomy. Now, I'm not saying that women should do that. And that's a conversation that they definitely should have with their doctor, physician. But that is an option. However, that's a more personal conversation that they should have with their primary care doctor.
Absolutely that. Well, listen, I'm really happy that you came on the show tonight to give us some really vital and important information, on women's health. And it's not to be taken for granted. It is to be taken very seriously. And, I guess, the old saying is, if you know better, do better, and I'm sure that sort of works, for you as well, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I want to I know October is our Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we have the Susan G. Komen, we have the Sister Pack.
Yeah.
However, I'm asking our ladies and our men not to wait until October.
Oh, right. Yeah.
We want to get this yearly, set a date. I will share something personal. I do all of my examinations on my birthday or the week of, so I can remember and I won't forget when to do those things. And I'm celebrating life another year, so I want to maintain that I'm healthy.
Absolutely.
And so I would just recommend that each person pick a specific time that's special to them to make sure that they're getting all of their health preventive screenings, including mammograms.
Cherie heard from the Methodist South Hospital facility. She's the radiology director. Thanks for coming on Real Talk tonight, and I'd love to have you back down the road. I really appreciate the work that you do, and thank you for sharing with us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and anytime, Chip, anytime.
All right, take good care of yourself. Thank you.
You too.
All right. Cherie heard, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you were listening, because that's some very valuable information that all of us need to pay attention to. Very happy to have her on the show. We're going to take our last break, and when we come back, we're going to shift gears down to South Memphis, and we're going to talk to somebody about a very important project that he is working on. This is Real Talk Memphis. I'm Chip. Right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real.
Hi, this is Anita Ward, here to tell you a bit about my alma mater, Russ College, which supports the music of the Mid-South through its partnerships with WYXR. I've been known for singing since my days on campus, and I continue to sing Russ College's praises. Did you know Russ College offers 23 plus majors? 2 new ones will be implemented this fall: forensic science and religious studies. For more information on admissions, enrollment, and activities, visit russcollege.edu.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening. We've had a really good show tonight. A lot of great information being passed forth, and I hope you all have appreciated it and enjoyed it to this point. We're going to shift gears now. We're going to talk about an area of our city that has been neglected. I think it's very fair to say, over the past several years. But there is one man that I'm about to talk to who has a family history going back some ways that a lot of us can identify with. And he's also going to talk to us about a very special project that he is launching. He is Archie Willis III. He's the founder and president of Comcap Partners. And Archie Willis III, I'm very happy to have you on Real Talk. Thanks for coming in, man.
Thank you, Chip. I appreciate the opportunity and look forward to the conversation.
Yes, sir. If many people are listening, you know a lot of folks, obviously, but a lot of folks know you. But your family name goes back a ways here in the city of Memphis, and it was very, very well thought of as well. A.W. Willis, the street that a lot of us are aware of. That was your father, am I correct? Named after your dad?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So obviously there's a lot of upstanding in your family. You have taken on, you were born and raised in South Memphis, and as you saw it, in its heyday at one point in time, but you've also seen where it looks now, run down and a bit troublesome. But you're trying to sort of recapture the old magic, I would say, with a project that you want to launch. Talk a little bit about the South Memphis Museum project that you're behind.
Well, sure. As you said, I did grow up and lived on Mississippi Boulevard, which runs through the heart of South Memphis, and spent the early, through my late teenage years before we moved to another part of the city. So grew up in the neighborhood. Interestingly, though, I did not attend the neighborhood schools, and that's because my oldest brother, who's 2 years older than I am, was one of the Memphis 13 that integrated Memphis City school system.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he, instead of going to La Rose, which was our neighborhood school, and literally 2 or 3 blocks around the corner, he went to Bruce, and I followed him to Bruce. So we actually didn't go to neighborhood schools, but we were obviously very, very involved in the community, churches in the community, and knew a lot of folks.
Right.
So from my perspective, the museum, and I'm of the age where as you pointed out, my parents, my dad and mom, were both very active in the civil rights movement. My dad was active politically, civically, and in business as well. And as we age and as I age, and the reality was that, gosh, that generation is leaving us. And as they are leaving us, there's a lot of information, a lot of history, a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom that's leaving with them. So it just dawned upon me that somehow I needed to try to figure out a way to retain some of that knowledge, retain some of that history, and to make it available to the next generation. I have young adult kids, and although they are reasonably well informed about what happened, particularly with our family,
Right.
there's a lot of things that happen in South Memphis that they're not really familiar with.
So based on everything you just said, and talking about your family history and where you came up, you wanted to launch this project. So talk a little bit about the museum project. What do you hope this will do, not only to the area, but also to have people remember how special South Memphis is?
So what we really hope the museum will do, the museum is still very, 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 very much in the formative stage.
Sure.
I'm in real estate development, consulting, finance business, not the museum business. So as I tell people, this is a project of passion. So we're got a steep learning curve. So we put forth the idea. We talked to a number of people about it. Everybody is very excited about the idea. Mm-hmm. So we really want to locate what I call a small but impactful museum in South Memphis, where we can collect and display archives and memorabilia, just anything we can find that showcases and displays and talks about the history of the city and the history of South Memphis, and frankly, the importance of South Memphis in the history of the city as a larger vehicle for or change in Memphis. So we want to put the museum in what was at that time Porter Junior High School. It most recently was MLK Transition Academy, which is run by now Memphis Shelby County Schools.
Right.
They closed the Transition Academy several years ago. So we're in the process of working with two nonprofits. One is which the nonprofit that will be the home of the museum, and then another nonprofit organization that will acquire this property, that will get it renovated, and we will put the museum in part of the old Porter School building. We were fortunate enough to develop a relationship with MOSH, the Museum of Science and History, which, if you're old like me, was the Pink Palace back in the day.
Okay.
And they know the museum business. That's what they do. They have new leadership that's been around a couple of years. And just fortuitously, the new leader, Kevin Thompson, and I actually worked on some projects together in our prior lives. So we already had a degree of a relationship already there. So he really took to the idea of wanting to help support this effort. And of course, as I said earlier, we really don't know a lot about how to do what we're trying to do. So we welcome the input and the support of somebody that's in the business. And so we're in the very early stages of trying to put together a framework. We did create the organization, the South City Museum and Cultural Center.
Yeah.
We have a small board that we'll be expanding soon in the next month or so.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll start an active fundraising campaign. We're already starting some schematic designs of the museum. We haven't gotten into the exhibit stage yet. We're really looking at the real estate. Our expertise is the real estate side. So we will certainly be a part of bringing the building or making the building available. And then we'll be working with MOSH and the greater community to start figuring out how to turn it into a museum.
Just listening to you talk, and for those of you who are just joining us, we are speaking with Archie Willis III, and he is the founder and president of ComCap Partners, and he's talking about a museum project. Now, for those of you who are born and raised in Memphis, and I saw some notes here pop up on Facebook Live, several folks grew up in South Memphis, and Lola did too, as a matter of fact. But there's a lot of folks who were very interested and grew up, during a time when that was just a wonderful place to live. And folks like you and JW, I can't think of JW's last name all of a sudden, but are doing projects, are trying to create, stir up a little interest in where we've been and how important that period of time was in terms of. So when this is all said and done, and you're obviously off to a great start, what do you hope to accomplish with this museum? What do you hope it does to the landscape of an area that has really been downtrodden in the last few years?
So we want to accomplish a couple of things. First, we are involved with the redevelopment of the former Foot Homes into Foot Park in South City.
Right.
So that project is under construction. We're into the fourth phase of development. So it will create a totally new, livable community, mixed income, affordable and market rate for 712 families. So
Okay.
right across the street, directly across the street, is the old Porter Junior High School, or MLK Transition Academy, which is frankly a very blighted structure.
Yes.
So at a very, very basic level, we hope to turn a blighted nuisance in the communities that's been sitting there for several years into a community asset. In terms of the museum itself, what we really want to accomplish is providing a space for, again, this history to be displayed so that the generations of kids that live in South Memphis now, those that may have grown up and moved away and want to come back, can really get a chance, particularly younger generations, to really appreciate what took place. When
Exactly.
you start thinking about, I don't want to get into the names because you could spend a long, long time naming people and places and things and still leave out a bunch of folks.
Yeah.
But the list of people, places, organizations that came out of South Memphis is off the chains, as they say.
Yep.
So a lot of the young folks today really have no knowledge, no history, no context of what greatness came out of South Memphis.
There you go.
So we want to bring that to them,
so
they can see that, wow, these folks came out of the same neighborhood that I live in. People talk about our neighborhood. You're right. You made the comments about it's been disinvested. Not a lot of investment or activity over the last decades.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to change that, build some momentum. Hopefully some additional development will take place around the area. But the main thing is to bring a sense of history, knowledge, information, and ultimately pride to a generation of young folks who would hopefully take advantage of it and be inspired by those stories to go on to much greater things themselves and believe they can go on to much greater things.
Absolutely, man. So I salute you for what you're doing, and I just know that this is going to be the start of something that is going to be very, very positive. Archie, I'm up against it, but I wanted to thank you very much for coming on the show tonight, talking about this project. When I first saw it, I said, this is something we have to talk about. And I'm glad that you are behind it. And as the time moves forward, man, let's stay in touch on this. Keep us posted as to, the development as things move forward. But in the meantime, thank you very much for taking time to come on the show tonight.
I appreciate it. And I would definitely do that because we certainly want to get the word out to as many people as we possibly can.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Have a great evening. Thank you so much. All right.
All right.
Archie Willis III, ladies and gentlemen. What a way to wrap the show, talking about a very positive project that is coming to South Memphis. And for those of you who were born and raised and even live in South Memphis pride is on the move. So as we wrap up this edition of Real Talk Memphis and Lola plays us out, I wanted to say thank you to all of you who contributed by checking us out tonight, whether it is on Facebook Live, whether it is on the radio, or social media. Subscribe to the show. And by the way, if you've not become a member, you need to check out the Real Talk Memphis
if you like
radio
Real
show.
Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest? Or
Somebody's
have a guest
talking when I'm
idea?
talking.
Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page, and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience.
I'm just waiting for all
as
this
he always
to
says,
get clear.
go out and
Hang
tell
on, y'all.
somebody.
All right.
We'll be right back.
Okay, we don't want that. This is the close right here. Is this the close?
You're listening to Real Talk with Chip Washington. If you're celebrating a birthday, anniversary, or special occasion, shoot him a note and he'll read it on the air. Get involved.
Okay. All right, anyway, we're about to say goodbye. But what I wanted to say was thank you all for being a part of this show. And subscribe to the Real Talk Memphis radio show fans page, okay? It doesn't cost you anything. Just become a member. Just go to the page and just say, I want to be a member, and boop, we'll make you a member. Make it easy for you. Next week is Pledge Week here at the big WYXR. So we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to introduce you to some of the talent that is already on this radio station, and we're going to ask you to give, contribute. It costs to keep these lights on around here, and it costs to keep this mic working so, I can broadcast when I come in on Monday evenings. So for Lola and for Nicole, I'm Chip. It's been a great show, and we hope that you'll join us again next Monday, same time, same station, and maybe we'll do it just a little bit better. So in the meantime, in between time, I'm Chip, and I'm out. Have a great week.